Anti-Afro Svengalis, there's a big piece missing here. There's a big piece that has been missing from feedback and discussions that have gone on over the last month or so about predators, predatory behavior, trolling, that sort of thing. And I wanted to make sure I came to give some clarity about these terms. The terms I'm going to focus on the behaviors because if you assess this in terms of a person, that means you're going to need tons more information, which we obviously don't have. Don't listen to Dumpsy. Dumpsy on a regular basis comes onto the internet and tries to diagnose individuals. Although he lies about it and says he doesn't do it, he has been warned by the licensing board to cease that conduct, and he still continues to do it. That's another video. To cease that conduct, and he still continues to do it. That's another video. But for now, I want to focus on differentiating between predatory behavior and trolling. Everybody has their own nuances about trolling. But there are some realities about trolling. Trolling can be vengeful, but trolling doesn't have the type of investment that predatory behavior has. Trolling is designed to take you off topic, to disrupt things. Predatory behavior has a goal of gaining control of the situation as it is, and to continue the situation incognito, in secret, so the target is unaware of what they're doing. Trolling is very obvious. We know when we see trolling behavior. Predatory behavior aims to get the upper hand by not letting you know exactly what the individual is up to. That is predatory behavior. It's totally different from trolling. I don't even like to use the word trolling. I just label the situation for what it is. But let's take it another step with predatory behaviors. This is probably the most shocking aspect of predatory behavior that many people don't want to accept. It doesn't make any difference whether there's a prefix if you put the word child or sexual in front of predatory behavior. It's irrelevant. Doesn't make any difference whatsoever, because the whole point of predatory behavior being successful is vulnerability. You need a vulnerable target. That's what you have to keep in mind. And when those engaging in predatory behavior cannot access their ordinarily preferred target, they're going to shift downward to go to an even more vulnerable target. So please keep that in mind. What I want to tell you about, I want to give as an example Ted Bundy. Now, I'm not going to go into Ted Bundy's diagnoses. If you want to read up on his diagnoses and his history of family and all that, you can do that. I'm focusing on his behaviors, his predatory behaviors. He was known for targeting adult women. He was not known for targeting children with his predatory behavior. But let me explain how this switch up comes about. Ted Bundy was full-blown daylight in his predatory behavior. He did what he did in full view of the public, using different schemes. Even if somebody were to identify him, it would have been implausible that what they were describing would be somebody that actually did what was being accused of, because the interactions with the women that he had were very unassuming. He wasn't seen grabbing and throwing people into cars, but there was one exception. He continued into his daylight routine until August of 1975. He tried to kidnap a woman in Utah, and she got away. Oh no, we can't have any of that. He was arrested. I can't believe he was convicted. Yes, he was convicted. And I guess they were waiting to transfer him to a prison in Utah. He ends up escaping in December of 77 because he was held pending the trial. He ends up escaping in December of 1977 and he heads to Florida. Obviously, he's gone. Can you imagine being deprived of your mainstay all this time? August 1975 to December 1977. So he was all that time, he was held in custody. He manages to escape. He heads to Florida. He had to change up his routine. Who would think he would be happy about having to change up a routine? Because people who engage in the predatory behavior get very set in their ways. But he needed to fulfill this need, this predatory behavioral need, necessity in his mind, right? So he switches up to dark time and dressed in all black. He had to continue doing what he was doing. He ended up killing 2 women in a sorority house in the dead of night and injured several others. But there's a problem. Damn it. I have been seen. This is not going to be a situation where I want to be seen. I don't care if I'm seen in broad daylight, dressed all nice and smiling and happy, talking to women. No one's going to really think I did anything. To those women, they're going to be looking for somebody else. And that was a stumbling block with law enforcement because, wait a minute, you're saying the guy was dressed like this and they were talking, they were laughing. Live and learn, right? So he killed these women. He had to do his whole routine was changed up. And you could just probably tell, man, the behavior, the rage that went into those murders. Oh my goodness, people. It was extremely brutal, or those murders were extremely brutal. He is not done. He perpetrates this crime in mid-January 1978. Not good enough. He wants to go back. He needs to go back to his routine. Daylight predatory behavior. But his confidence remained shook. He got arrested. He had to flee. In his mind, he escaped from jail, from detention. He goes to a sorority house and kills several women, but he is seen there. So he goes back to daylight, predatory behavior. And guess what he had to do? He had to downshift. He had to make sure there would be no impediment to a target that he needed to acquire. So he goes to a middle school. And there's a 12-year-old girl walking down the hall, the outer hall that's closest to the street. He manages somehow to get this child into the van that he had. He didn't run up and grab her. Obviously, she went there. It's still kidnapping, but he didn't run up there and snatch her. She voluntarily got in the van. Somebody saw her getting in, and they didn't think anything of it. Oh, just thought somebody's picking up a kid. I think I saw, it was like very unassuming. Oh yeah, I saw there was a white van that picked up this little girl and she had a purse or whatever. And that didn't even happen right away. Somebody came forward later and said that. But it wasn't running up and grabbing anyone. He was caught after that. That was his last, thank God, for what it's worth, his last victim, a 12-year-old girl. So there you have it. It doesn't matter if somebody's known for targeting a certain group. They will make whatever shift they need to make in order to accomplish the task. Now, there are other people. There's another case. I'm trying to figure out. I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head. He was a cop in Florida, and he moved to Vegas. I have to see if I can find. If I find who he is, I'll post it up here because I'm not on the computer screen now. He started out. He wasn't going to mess around. He only went for women who were small, shorter stature. He didn't want any problems. I have no problem overpowering someone who was five, whatever, small. Small women. He wasn't going for women who were 5'9" and 5'11". All of the women he kidnapped and murdered were smaller stature. Because someone with a predatory behavior needs to succeed. If you deprive the individuals of their ability to succeed, you get what you got with Ted Bundy. Look at that rampage. He was going to go on forever and ever and ever. This was a necessity that was well established. It is very difficult to break the predatory behavioral cycle. It takes perseverance. It takes courage. It takes unwillingness to be manipulated. It takes the necessity to stand back and watch and look at what is before you instead of listening to the individual tell you something else that we all know is not there. Look at the behavior. That is your focus, not on the words. So people, hopefully you will recognize it doesn't make any difference what prefix is on the word predatory behavior. Predatory behavior is predatory behavior. And anybody around anybody with predatory behavior is at risk. The more vulnerable the individual is, the higher the risk. And let's talk about vulnerability. That vulnerability is assessed by the individual engaging in that predatory behavior. So that individual may try to find, what about that person? Because something's already drawing me to this individual, the vulnerability of this person. But what specifically can I tap into to make sure I can succeed? That is what you have with predatory behavior. Be certain that you are always looking at the behavior in totality, not just snippets here and there, because those with predatory behaviors will do the little snippets, but their unguarded moments are the ones that tell the true story. Look for the unguarded moments. You know there's always more to come. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.